Hey, I'm Kayla and I work at Microsoft focusing on developer experiences. And in this video, we're going to talk all about GitHub Copilot CLI now that it's GA. And I'll walk you through how to get it installed along with how to use it and get it working in your workflow. So let's jump in. So GitHub Copilot CLI is now generally available, so you can use it in your enterprise if you haven't been using it already. I'm using Windows Terminal, so I'm going to use WinGet to install this. So I can run winget install github.copilot. You can also install it through npm or Node, as well as brew if you're on a Mac. And then from here, you can simply type Copilot, and this will launch you into the Copilot interactive session. When you're launching Copilot, it usually asks if you trust the folder that it's using. You can get around this by saying that you always trust this folder, so it'll be saved in your config file as a trusted folder, but I'll just hit yes for now. This is my root folder. I don't really suggest running Copilot in your root, but we'll switch to a project folder here shortly, so I'll show you how to do that. Now at this point, I've already authenticated because I've been using Copilot CLI for a long time, but if you haven't, you can type /login if it doesn't prompt you already, and this is how you can log in to your GitHub account to get access to the remaining Copilot CLI features, along with any models that might be included in your plan. In order to switch project folders, you can type /cwd, and then put the path to the directory. So let's head over to the PowerToys repo that I have cloned on my machine. Now from here, we can work with Copilot and have it do some stuff for us. You might be unsure of where to start, so you can just start by asking a simple question like, what does this project do? And then Copilot will go ahead and reason over the project files and then give you a summary of what the project does. Now, something to note is that I'm using Claude Opus 4.6, but GitHub Copilot CLI comes with a bunch of different models. You can look at all of the ones available to you with /model, and this list will be different depending on the plan that you have, along with your enterprise with whatever models they have available to you. And I've set Claude Opus 4.6 as my default. I like to switch models depending on the task that I'm doing. So Claude Sonnet is a really good staple model for just day-to-day work. And Claude Haiku is really good for quick commands or things that don't require a lot of processing capability. And Claude Opus is really good for deep research or really large tasks. I've also found that GPT Codex is really good for crisp responses, and it keeps things fairly concise, which I like if I don't want to try to drill in all the possible ways I can do something. I just want something done quickly. So to set your default model, we'll want to head into the config file that comes with Copilot. When you install Copilot, it'll add a .copilot folder at the root of your machine. And in here is where all of your agents are, any skills that you have, along with any configuration. So here we're going to open the config file. So this config file is a really great way for managing how GitHub Copilot CLI is going to operate. So to set your default model, you'll want to modify this model field. So mine is set to Claude Opus 4.6, but you can set it to any of the models that you have available in your list. Another setting that I like to have enabled is this banner setting. If you noticed, there's a really cool animation at the start of when you launch Copilot CLI, and it only happens on first launch, but I want to see it all the time. So I changed this to always, and then it launches on every launch. So to show you, I'm just going to launch it again. Look at that. I love it. Okay. Now, since I restarted Copilot, I might want to jump back into a session that I already had. So we can type /resume to take a look at our previous sessions and then jump into them from here. So you can now see the summary of the previous sessions that I had and when I had them. And you can also see all of your remote sessions. So if you were doing stuff with the cloud agent, you can access these sessions from here as well without having to go into github.com and looking at it there. And then now we can just jump back into the session that we had and we can keep going. So this is really great if you've restarted your machine or you went to go work on something else and you changed Copilot sessions. You can come back with /resume and then all of your context is still there, so you can pick up right where you left off. And then as a last topic for this video, I want to talk a little bit about MCP servers and the MCP servers that come by default with GitHub Copilot CLI. So MCP servers give extra information to an agent. So it would be an outside service like GitHub or Figma or OneDrive or Office, for example, and they tell the agent, hey, I can give you access to this set of tools so that you can use them as part of your computation. So here I'm just typing /mcp show to display the MCP servers that I have installed. And here you can see that the GitHub MCP server comes built in with GitHub Copilot CLI. This is really handy for accessing things like pull requests or issues that you need more information on, or that Copilot needs more information on for it to proceed with the task that you've asked it. One thing I want to mention is that this MCP server is read-only. So if you wanted Copilot to create issues on your behalf or create pull requests on your behalf, then you would need to set up the GitHub MCP server itself. So to demonstrate how this GitHub MCP server works, you can ask it questions about your GitHub repository. So I can ask, what were the last 5 issues filed on this repo? So here's kind of what happened. It first tried to use the separate GitHub MCP server that I installed, but I haven't set up the OAuth token because I just installed Copilot again in this video, but it retained the MCP configuration that I already had previously before the video. But then it decided to use the GitHub list issues tool, which comes with that read-only GitHub MCP server that's built into GitHub Copilot. And then it was able to find the issues and then describe them to me here at the end. Now, leveraging Copilot is really handy in interactive mode, but you can also use it just as a regular command line command. So to exit out of interactive mode, I'm going to hit Control-C twice. But then if I'm in my project directory, which let me head back over there, I could say something like Copilot-P, and then the same question of what were the last 5 issues filed on this repo. And then this is a non-interactive session. So this is handy if you're just vibing in the command line without an agent, but then you forgot a command or don't remember the syntax or want to know what the last 5 issues were, for example. You can just run this simple command and then Copilot will give the answer, but then you're still staying in your command line context. And you could see it still gave me that same answer of, oh, your original GitHub MCP server is authenticated, but I can use the inbox one and then pull in all of the issues because it has access to that GitHub list issues tool that's read-only. So that's just a quick intro into the GitHub Copilot CLI and how to install it and get started using it. If you want to learn more, definitely feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be posting more and more videos about GitHub Copilot and the CLI and VS Code, so definitely check them out. And leave a comment if there's any specific videos you want to see about development on Windows. So with that, I'll see you in the next one.